Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Darikumo Ado. The headlines: continuous voter registration records high turnout in Anambra State. Plateau Speaker leads members to visit attacked Riom community. Mexican president criticizes U.S. duties on tomatoes, and UK lawyer says data breach is catastrophic for Afghans at risk of reprisals. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima led top dignitaries to Daura, Katsina State on Tuesday for the funeral of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who died in London on July 13, 2025. Buhari's remains arrived in Katsina aboard the presidential aircraft and were received by Tinubu, Shettima, and other national and international leaders, including President Umaru Mbam of Guinea-Bissau and Niger's Prime Minister Ali Zain. The funeral, held with full military honors, including a 21-gun salute, followed Islamic rites led by the chief imam of Daura. The late president was buried at his residence in Daura as crowds gathered to pay their respects. Notable attendees included former presidents, governors, ministers, lawmakers, security chiefs, business leaders, and traditional rulers. Tributes poured in, remembering Buhari as a resilient and honest leader. A week of mourning and official tributes will continue. Former House of Representatives member Dachung Bagos has said that some officials appointed by late President Muhammadu Buhari betrayed his trust, contributing to increased corruption during his administration. Speaking in an interview shortly after Buhari's burial in Daura, Bagos said the former president's failure to properly monitor his appointees was a major setback. He acknowledged Buhari's personal reputation for integrity, but noted that his administration struggled with widespread insecurity, which overshadowed many of his efforts. He also pointed to the Not Too Young to Run bill signed into law in 2018 as one of Buhari's lasting contributions, despite the mixed reactions to his legacy, especially among young Nigerians. A continuous voter registration and revalidation exercise being conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Anambra State is witnessing more attendance by citizens. The exercise, now in its 7th day, is taking place in the 326 electoral wards in the state. Correspondent Precious Chiagoro has the report.
The continuous voter registration exercise, which is built to last between the 8th and 17th of July, is in preparation for the November 8th off-season governorship elections in Anambra State. The exercise is happening simultaneously in the 326 electoral wards in Anambra State to update the register with the names of those who recently reached the adult suffrage of 18 years, those who relocated to new areas, or people that lost their voter's card. At the demonstration school, Commissioner's Quarters, Ifitoka, the exercise was going on smoothly under a calm atmosphere, with mostly young people turning up to register for the first time. Though the INEC ad hoc staff conducting the exercise in the area refused to speak on camera, the registrants were visibly happy. Commenting on the good turnout, the Managing Director of Anambra Civic and Social Reformation Office, Chuka Nnabefe, said his office has been in contact with the INEC in sensitizing the people.
I expect INEC not to joke with this process, and I expect officials of INEC to know the onus on them, the responsibility on their shoulder. The people of Anambra deserve an active INEC, a very, very alert INEC. They deserve INEC to be seen to be performing in their high gear as regards these Anambra 2025 election, the gubernatorial election that comes on November 8th.
At the community primary school Amobia, a relatively large crowd was gathered and patiently waiting for their turn. They complained of malfunctioning of the data capturing machine, which had made many people to go home. A stakeholder in the area, Isi Nwokoye, called for extension of the exercise beyond July 17, as well as expanding the daily registration period beyond 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's not encouraging because since morning they've not done much. The machine has been having technical issue. I have to go use my car and bring the technical person to help him. They've been struggling to get it done. It's not working. But now he's trying to resolve the issue. Okay. The thumbprint is not captured. People have come here, there was crowd here in the morning. Okay. But when they wait, it's not working. They go to their business and come back. And the time range is not convenient. How can you say you start from 9 to 3? And 3 is when people come back to work. Okay. So the people that have been here, few have not gotten it. 17 is just 3 days. And can people, the rate of one to one transfer, and the people that is 17 that want to move to that is already 18. They are at work. So that this time range is not enough. I'm advocating for more time, please. Even complete with yourself to go to.
Reports from other parts of the state also speak of large turnout, except in parts of some local government areas where insecurity is still holding sway. Precious Chagoro, reporting for Signature TV.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has confirmed the successful screening of Awalu Isa Manzo as its candidate for the upcoming Garki Barura House of Representatives by-election in Jigawa State. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, had earlier announced August 16, 2025 as the date for the Garki Babura Federal Constituency by-election following the death of Isa Dongoroyaro, who passed away on May 10, 2024 at the age of 46. Speaking after the screening, Secretary of the PDP Screening Committee from the party's national headquarters in Abuja, Precious Ben, confirmed that the party had successfully screened its candidate for the forthcoming by-election in the Garki Babura constituency. She explained that a 5-member committee was set up by the PDP to visit Jigawa State and conduct the screening process, ensuring the candidate's eligibility to contest under the party's platform. Addressing journalists after the screening, PDP candidate Awalu Isamanzo stated that he voluntarily retired from civil service in order to run for office and bring meaningful change to his constituency. He expressed confidence that the people of Garki Babura would support him and vote in his favor during the upcoming election. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress, APC, and the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, have also fielded the candidates for the election. Several opposition parties in Lagos, including the Labour Party, LP, YPP, AAC, APP, and Accord Party, have called for the cancellation of Saturday's local government elections, describing the exercise as undemocratic and fraudulent. At a joint press conference on Tuesday, party leaders alleged widespread irregularities, including missing ballot materials, disenfranchisement of candidates, and omission of party logos on ballot papers. LP chairperson Dayo Ekong, through her deputy Alasu Wajayi, condemned what she called state-sponsored electoral fraud, while YPP's Olusegun Mobolaji cited ballot box snatching, illegal coalition, and ignored appeals to authorities. The party said the election conducted by last year lacked transparency and fairness. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has warned against assaults on LASTMA officials, vowing that offenders will face strict legal action. Represented by Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat at the second Lagos Traffic Conference, marking LASTMA's 25th anniversary, Sanwo-Olu praised the officers' dedication under challenging conditions. He honored fallen LASTMA personnel and reiterated plans to transform the agency through technology, including AI systems, automated plate recognition, and drone surveillance to boost traffic management across the state. Up ahead, NAPTIP flags up nationwide training on human trafficking data collection. Tinubu orders agencies to address concerns behind new US-UAE visa restrictions. Details of these and more after the break. National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has launched a nationwide step-down training on the revised data collection for the implementation of Nigeria's National Action Plan on Human Trafficking. Declaring the workshop open on Tuesday in Enugu, the Director General of NAPTIP, Binta Bello, stated that the training marked a critical milestone in the country's ongoing efforts to enhance data-driven responses to human trafficking. Bello was represented by the Southeast Zonal Commander of the agency, Jonathan Okbai, said the workshop was a culmination of a project, the implementation of the National Action Plan against human trafficking in Nigeria. The Enugu State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Kingsley Ude, who commended NAPTIP for its numerous efforts in curbing human trafficking, pledged the state government's commitment and assistance to ensure that the agency receives all the necessary support to ease its work. The country representative of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, Sheikh Touare, commended the enthusiasm and commitment of stakeholders working at the front line of Nigeria's anti-trafficking response. The President and Chief Executive Officer of Signature TV, Vin Martin Obiorah, has enjoined the alumni of various academic institutions in the country never to abandon their alma mater or old schoolmates, especially when they are blessed with material wealth. Ilo made a remark when he hosted the executives and members of the Old Boys Association of St. Vincent's Secondary School, Agbogugu, in our local government area of Enugu State, who visited the corporate headquarters of Signature TV, Thinkers Corner, Enugu. Correspondent Christopher Lele was there.
In a show of solidarity, nostalgia, and goodwill, a high-powered delegation of the Old Boys Association of St. Vincent Secondary School, Agbogugu, in Ogo local government area of Enugu State, visited one of their own, Vin Martin Obiorah Ilo, President and Chief Executive Officer of Signature TV. The visit took place at the Raymond Dupesi headquarters of the broadcast outfit on Alo Street, Thinkers Corner, Enugu. The delegation, which was led by the president of the association, Sebastian Okafor, a veteran journalist and lawyer, said the visit was a fraternal call to celebrate one of their own who has risen to a position of prominence in public and private life by dint of hard work.
So on behalf of the Old Boys Association of St. Vincent Secondary School, Agbo, of which, by the grace of God, the arrowhead, courtesy of the school, I want to say, with Martin, we're proud of you once more. And it's our prayer that Signature TV goes beyond this place. It grows beyond boundaries.
And as a reenactment of the old school days, which recognized seniority, the eldest student in the midst was given the floor.
It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Very soon we celebrate something higher. It's not easy to be an employer in Nigeria but multi-time. Anybody who can employ just one person is a very great person, and I respect the person. I know you are going to. I don't know the number you have here, but it will go in multiples because you are born to help manage.
Of course, the youngest in their midst also spoke on the purpose of their visit.
My business name is Diamantis. Incidentally, I'm the youngest, the most junior. That's the word you use. The most junior of the old board at here presently for the course visit.
The visit was deeply symbolic to President and CEO of Signature TV, Vin Martin Obiorah Ilo, who did not take the visit for granted. Ilo stated that members of alumni associations should not only look out for their former peers and colleagues and lift them up where necessary, but also ensure they contribute in uplifting their alma mater.
I mean, if I'm in this position and any one of our old boys has need for me or assistance, I should be able to give it. Ditto for all of us. Yeah. You know, our old boys, we can't say, oh, because the school is no longer what it used to be, nothing is holding us together. The times we spend, the memories are holding us together. Exactly. So we should be our brother's keeper. And that's why it hurts me when some of our colleagues had opportunity and positions to advance the cause of our old boys, and they didn't quite do it as respected.
The meeting ended on a warm note with group photographs and the exchange of fraternal pleasantries. The event also featured a tour of the signature TV station and some refreshments, during which members of the delegation and the chairman shared stories of their school days. The visit marks another reminder of the enduring bonds of old school networks and the role such associations can play in promoting friendships and community development. Christopher Lele reporting for Signature TV.
President Bola Tinubu has directed relevant federal agencies to take all necessary actions to address the issues identified by the governments of the United States and the United Arab Emirates in their recent changes to visa issuance policies affecting Nigerian citizens. The directive is contained in a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, in Abuja on Tuesday. President Tinubu said that all concerned ministries, departments, and agencies should work collaboratively and ensure full compliance with Nigeria's international obligations. The federal government, however, stated that it had not received any formal notification from Abu Dhabi indicating a change in visa policy by the United Arab Emirates, but acknowledged that visa issuance was proceeding in a gradual but orderly manner. The statement reaffirmed the federal government's unwavering commitment to maintaining and strengthening the long-standing and cordial diplomatic relations with both countries. The United States government formally notified Nigeria that its decision to review visa privileges for Nigerian passport holders was informed by the growing incidence of visa overstays by Nigerian nationals and challenges in obtaining reliable access to applicants' records. Washington further explained that adjustments are part of its global visa reciprocity framework, which is routinely reviewed and subject to policy revisions, including entry limits and validity periods. Ebonyi State Governor Francis Nwifuru has announced a minor cabinet reshuffle involving 4 commissioners, issuing a firm warning for improved performance in line with the administration's People's Charter of Needs Manifesto. The reshuffle was made public on Tuesday by the newly appointed Commissioner for Information and State Orientation, Ikewa Omebe, in a press briefing following Monday's State Executive Council meeting held in Abakaliki. In a strong directive, Governor Nwifuru gave a 3-month grace period to the Commissioner for Environment, Victor Chukwu, and the Commissioner for Tertiary Education, Professor Amari Omaka, cautioning that failure to show significant improvement within the time frame will result in the dismissal from office. As part of broader efforts to industrialize the state, the Executive Council approved the supply and installation of independent captive power generation plants. The facilities are expected to deliver 24-hour metered electricity to select public and private industries. The project will begin with a 3-megawatt plant at ICT University of Ferikme, Abaja. Additionally, the Council ratified the establishment of a 15-member Ebonyi State Economic Advisory Committee. The committee will be chaired by Professor Bath Naji, with Dr. Bernard appointed as secretary. Governor Nwifuru called on all political appointees to reflect on their current performance and renew their commitments to the administration's goals, emphasizing service delivery and the welfare of the people. The Kaduna State Council of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, has called on the federal government to fast-track the rehabilitation of major roads in the state, especially the Abuja-Kaduna Highway and Western Bypass. Speaking in an interview on Wednesday, State Secretary Hassan Ibrahim said the poor state of roads has led to frequent accidents and forced some drivers to relocate. He urged the government to compel contractors to complete ongoing projects and praised Governor Obasani's efforts to centralize motor parks. Ibrahim also appealed to commuters to use official parks and fill out travel manifests for safety. At least 20 people were killed on Monday night by gunmen suspected to be Fulani militias who invaded the Binding community in Tahos district of Riom, local government area of Plateau State, while an unspecified number were injured as residents fled the community for safety. A statement by the Coalition of the Protection of Democracy, COPDEM, said the assailants stormed the village where the people had retired for the night and carried out a house-to-house attack, killing innocent people, including women, children, and the aged who could not escape. The coalition statement said the attackers were identified by survivors as Fulani extremists who were heavily armed with sophisticated weapons, made it clear that their mission was to exterminate the people and take over their land. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Nalong Gapli, on Tuesday led House members to Jebu Binda village in Riom, local government area, following Monday night's deadly attack by suspected Fulani militia. Gabriel said the visit was to condole with victims and assess the damage. He condemned the recurring violence and pledged the Assembly's support in tackling insecurity in the state. At the visit, Gabriel met with former Senate Minority Leader Simon Wankwam. Local officials and community leaders who guided them through the scene of the attack. And elsewhere in Nasarawa State, suspected gunmen have abducted the Permanent Secretary of the State Ministry of Information, Tourism and Culture, Yusuf Musa, from his residence in Chinge area of Lafia, the state capital. The Nasarawa State Police Command, which confirmed the incident in a statement on Tuesday, said the matter has been treated as suspected kidnapping and that a statewide manhunt has been launched to track the abductors and rescue the victim. Command Public Relations Officer Ramhan Nansel said the incident was discovered by officers on patrol. Nansel added that a search of the premises confirmed that the Permanent Secretary was missing, along with his GMC vehicle bearing registration number KUJ88PA. Police urged the public to remain calm and assist with useful information. The Securities and Exchange Commission has announced plans to launch an investigation into the activities of an entity operating under the name FF Tiffany, which is allegedly running a fraudulent investment scheme that has defrauded members of the public. In a statement released on Tuesday in Abuja, the SEC said preliminary findings suggest that a scheme offering investors unusually high and unrealistic returns has led to the loss of several billions of naira. The Commission described the operation as a significant threat to investor confidence and the overall integrity of the nation's financial system. It assured the public that it's working closely with law enforcement agencies and other relevant authorities to ensure that everyone involved in the illegal operation is brought to justice. Still to come, Germany's Waterfall says he is confident EU will adopt new Russia sanctions soon. US and Panamanian troops take military drills around Canaan zone. Do stay with us.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said that she disagrees with the U.S. government's decision to impose a duty of about 17% on Mexican tomato imports. Speaking at a regular morning news conference, Sheinbaum also said she hoped to announce measures next week in conjunction with tomato producers related to Washington's announcement that will begin charging a duty of about 17% on imports of fresh tomatoes from Mexico. The Mexican president also said Mexico will take action if an agreement with Washington regarding new tariffs is not reached by the August 1 deadline set by U.S. counterpart Donald Trump.
First, we disagree. Second, Mexican tomatoes will continue to be exported regardless. Third, I hope that next week we will be able to announce a series of actions that we will be taking with all the associations and all the tomato producers. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but within the framework of Plan Mexico, we are going to give tomato producers in our country different options and continue fighting in the United States.
Brazil's Vice President Geraldo Alckmin has announced that the country will seek to reverse the 50% tariff imposed by the United States on Brazilian goods as swiftly as possible. During a press conference after a meeting in Brasilia with representatives of key industries, Alckmin indicated that Brazil might seek an extension to the negotiation deadline, describing the current timeline as tight. The tariffs set to take effect on August 1 have prompted urgent discussions between Brazilian officials and industry leaders. According to Alckmin, the tariffs are not only unfair to Brazil, but also detrimental to the United States.
And what we heard here is negotiation. In other words, a commitment to reviewing matters that align with the proposal of the Brazilian government and President Lula. It was also pointed out that the timeframe is tight, that it's a short deadline, and that we should perhaps work to extend it. We will make every effort to reverse these tariffs that are very unfair to Brazil, but also harmful to the United States. The discussion focused on the United States and Brazil, and we will be receiving more proposals from various sectors. Then, in a more sector-specific manner, we will move forward with proposals and suggestions. The meetings are ongoing, and we will also speed up conversations with North American business leaders. Obviously, this requires more intensive diplomatic efforts, not only from business leaders who engage in a kind of corporate diplomacy, but above all from the Brazilian government, which will, of course, seek at all times to find a negotiated solution without failing to adopt reciprocal measures.
Germany's Mittelstand, the fabric of small and medium-sized companies in the country, says it's threatened by US President Donald Trump's announced 30% tariff on imports from the EU starting August 1. Government officials say this level of tariff is unacceptable and would end normal trade between two of the world's largest markets, Germany and the US, the manager of a German Mittelstand malt, Weber, said on Tuesday. Weber says the impact of a 30% tariff will be massive on its medium-sized manufacturer, Weber.
As an export-orientated company, we are of course also very dependent on the North American markets. We are monitoring the situation there very closely and have to see which of the threats that are currently being made will actually materialize afterwards, which tariffs will remain after the negotiations, and how this will affect our business. If the US tariffs were to actually be implemented to the extent that has been threatened, this would of course have a massive impact on our American business. It would completely change our position on the American market, and we would have to see how we could react to this situation. The European Union is currently in a position of dialogue and is trying to negotiate on an equal footing and as cooperatively as possible. I think that a position of strength and actively asserting our own interests would certainly help us in the future.
The central German town, Launau, north of Frankfurt, Weber is family-owned and was founded in 1950. It makes painting, coating technologies, and pneumatic and hydraulic pumps. Products it's advertised as almost 100% made in Germany. However, Weber's cautious attitude about the veracity of the tariffs seems to reflect a larger trend. Meanwhile, German Foreign Minister Johannes Wadepolt said he believed the European Union was close to adopting a new sanction package against Russia. Wadepolt said during a joint press conference with Slovenian Foreign Minister Tanja Fajon in Berlin that the package will be combined with possible new sanctions from the United States. Slovakia has been blocking the EU's latest sanctions package until its concerns are addressed over a separate EU proposal to phase out imports of Russian gas by January 1, 2028.
I am confident that this package will now be adopted in the short term. We are in the final stage of negotiations at the European Union level, and it is also necessary that we now reach a result. And there will then be a combination with the possible sanctions from the United States of America, which the American president has now announced. The importance of our cohesion is demonstrated not only in the area of security, but also in the trade talks with the USA. It is good that the European Union
We have common ground on Ukraine. We are very connected there. The unity of the European Union is key here. An unconditional ceasefire is the first step leading to negotiations for peace. A lasting and just peace for the Ukrainian people. And we see that the aggression continues, the destruction of infrastructure, civilian targets, victims in the civilian population. And we are united here to support Ukraine. And that is really a crucial role that we play here.
A data leak by British authorities containing thousands of Afghans' personal information is extremely serious and puts the lives of those affected at risk, a lawyer said after a court lifted reported restrictions on the breach which occurred in 2022. Concerns that individuals' names could be targeted by the Taliban led the previous conservative government to set up the relocation scheme involving thousands of people and estimated to cost the government about £2 billion. The leak by the Ministry of Defense in early 2022, which saw data published on Facebook the following year, and the secret relocation program was subject to a so-called super injunction preventing the media reporting what happened and which was lifted on Tuesday. The incident ranks among the worst security breaches in modern British history because of the cost and risk posed to the lives of thousands of Afghans, some of whom fought alongside British forces until their chaotic withdrawal in 2021. Sean Humber of the law firm Leyday, who is already acting for Afghans affected by the breach, said the Ministry of Defense appeared to be institutionally incapable of keeping data safe. He said the government's current position that the breach no longer puts people at risk was surprising, citing media reports of threats towards those that assisted U.S. forces and their allies before the Taliban took power in 2021. Defense Minister John Haley said about 4,500 Afghans and their family members have been relocated or are on their way to Britain under the previously secret scheme at a cost of around £400 million.
I find the government's current position somewhat surprising. They initially rushed to court to obtain an injunction, then a super injunction, to prevent the disclosure of this information by the media, precisely because of the risk that it posed to those affected. Now, somewhat curiously, some may consider, they're saying, well, there isn't a risk. Well, there are many credible media reports of those that have been persecuted by the Taliban in Afghanistan because of the help they provided to international forces, including UK, Australian and US forces. The Ministry of Defence seem, I think, institutionally incapable of keeping information safe. And so I think the issue that we need to look at is a thorough review of the government's practices and policies to ensure that something like this never happens again. They do seem very laissez-faire with other people's very sensitive persons.
Special Forces personnel from Panama and the United States began military training exercises aimed at defending the interoceanic canal and other strategic infrastructure in the Central American nation. The drills involved air, land, and maritime operations as part of the first phase of the annual Panamax Alpha 2025 exercise, according to Panamanian authorities. The training brings together special agents from Panama's police forces alongside troops from the U.S. Southern Command's Joint Task Force Bravo. The initial phase focuses on training and preparing Panamanian agents for Phase 2 of the Panamax exercise, which will involve actual execution of operations scheduled for September. Current exercises follow similar U.S. military drills conducted in Panama last month to protect the interoceanic waterway, part of a bilateral agreement signed in April between the two countries. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has warned that countries such as Brazil, China and India could be hit very hard by secondary sanctions if they continue to do business with Russia.
If you are the president of China or the prime minister of India or the president of Brazil and you're still trading with the Russians and getting the oil and the gas in and you sometimes even resell it for a higher price, know that if this guy in Moscow doesn't get serious about peace talks, I will slam secondary sanctions on you of 100%. So I'm sure they don't know yet what hit them. This will take some time to sink in, and I think you guys making this clear in the media, the senators maybe also discussing this with their counterparts in Brazil, India, China, will be very helpful to put maximum pressure on Russia in addition to the weapons delivery.
Rutte made the comments while meeting with senators in the U.S. Congress today after President Donald Trump announced new weapons for Ukraine and threatened secondary tariffs of 100% on the buyers of Russian exports unless there is a peace deal in 50 days. Convicted murderer Bradley John Murdoch died on Tuesday in a palliative care unit of Central Australia's Alice Springs Hospital. Murdoch was found guilty of killing British backpacker Peter Falconio in July 2001 when the 28-year-old was traveling through the outback with his girlfriend Joanne Lees in a camper van near Alice Springs, about 1,600 kilometers south of Darwin. He was also found guilty of the assault and deprivation of liberty of Lees, who managed to escape and raised the alarm. Murdoch was sentenced to a minimum non-parole period of 28 years at the Alice Springs Correctional Center in 2005. Peter Falconio's body has never been found. During a visit to a military base in West Bank's Jordan Valley, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israeli attacks on Syria were aimed at maintaining the southwestern region of Syria as a demilitarized zone and to protect the Druze residents. In his statement, Netanyahu also described Israeli actions as intense operations.
You are the president of China, or the prime minister of India, or the president of Brazil, and you're still trading with the Russians and getting the oil and the gas in, and you sometimes even resell it for a higher price. Know that if this guy in Moscow doesn't get serious about peace talks, I will slam.
Sorry for that mix-up. Israel carried out strikes against Syrian government forces in southwestern Syria for a second day on Tuesday. Syria's foreign ministry said in a statement on Tuesday that Israel holds full responsibility for the latest attacks on southern Syria and the consequences. The ministry said it is keen to protect all Syrian citizens without exception, including the Druze minority. A surge in sectarian violence in the predominantly Druze city of Sweda underlines the challenges facing interim President Ahmed al-Sharaa, who has struggled to assert control over the area near the Israeli border since toppling Bashar al-Assad in December.
We are also operating in Syria. We have an obligation to maintain the southwestern region of Syria as a demilitarized zone bordering Israel. We will not allow a return to a situation where a second Lebanon is being established there, and we are also obligated to protect the Druze residents. We are doing this through intense operations. I hope we will not have to operate anymore. It depends very much on what is understood and done, and also what is not done in Damascus.
Palestinian residents and a local business owner said on Tuesday that Israeli settlers had carried out an attack on a vehicle yard in West Bank town of Buka. CCTV footage shows a group of people setting fire to vehicles. Yard owner Mohammed Al-Saleh, who deals in car parts, said this was not the first time settlers had attacked the town. The United Nations Human Rights Office said that there has been an increase in killings and attacks against Palestinians by settlers and security forces in the occupied West Bank in recent weeks. Around 700,000 Israeli settlers live among 2.7 million Palestinians in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, territories Israel captured from Jordan in the 1967 war. Israel later annexed East Jerusalem, a move not recognized by most countries, but has not formally extended sovereignty over the West Bank. Manchester City have extended their kit partnership with Puma on a long-term deal. The club announced on Tuesday, with British media reports saying the deal is worth around £1 billion, making it the largest in the Premier League. The new contract runs for at least another 10 years worth, a record £100 million a year to the club. City previously signed a £65 million per year deal with a German kit manufacturer in 2019. The agreement is expected to set a new benchmark for kit manufacturer deals among English clubs, surpassing Manchester United's £900 million 10-year contract with Adidas signed in 2023. City have enjoyed an exceptional run since 2020, winning 4 consecutive Premier League titles and securing the treble in 2022-2023 season. However, they did not win a major trophy last season. City will begin the 2025-2026 Premier League campaign on August 16 with a trip to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Organizers of the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics unveiled the medals that will be awarded to athletes during the Games next year. The medals have been the traditional Olympic 5-ring symbol on one side with an inscription on the reverse that details the event and commemorates the venue. The same format has been used for the Paralympics, which has its own distinct symbol. They were presented at a ceremony in Venice that featured two celebrated retired Italian athletes, swimmer Federica Pellegrini and Francesca Panicciolato, with won gold medals at both Winter and Summer Paralympics.
Another symbolic moment is one of the huge step, yes, climbing, yes, the mountain, and yes, we know the medal is an iconic contest, but we know well which are the other steps. We are full of responsibility. We spoke it during our meeting, the Congress, with the stakeholders, and with our colleagues of the board.
The medals have been produced by IPZS, the State Mint, which is owned by the Economy Ministry. A total of 245 gold, 245 silver, and 245 bronze medals will be presented to the Winter Games. The Paralympics, 137 medals will be awarded in each of the three rankings. Milan and the town of Cortina d'Ampezzo, one of Italy's most famous ski resorts, are the main host of the Games, which run from February 6th to 22nd next year. Paralympics will follow the following month. That's the news this hour. I am Barry Kumo Ado. Thank you very much for watching.